Hi, I'm Wayne Jonhs and welcome to Team Bowens lighting tutorial. The theme of today's shoot is to take some basic lighting modifiers and to use them in a creative way to sculpt and light a model's figure in a fine art type shot. What we're looking to teach photographers today is the importance of lighting control and model position to make this kind of shot work. So for today's shoot, we're using two Bowens Gemini 500R heads, and they're both fitted with two Lumiere 40x100 strip boxes. Now that's a very soft light and also a very narrow light, but it should enable us to get some really nice rim lighting with a little bit of wraparound light. There are two main challenges here. One of them is the position of the lighting. If you don't have those quite right, it can make or break your shot. And the same goes for the model's positioning too. If you turn her slightly too far one way, she will be in complete shadow and you'll lose the light. Again, that will affect the overall outcome of your shot. But now we've got those main challenges out of the way, let's get the model in place and have a look at what's going on. So I've got my first light in place. It's a Bowens 500 Gemini R unit, and on that I've got a Lumiere 40x100 strip box. In the front I've got both diffusion panels. Now that's going to give me a lovely soft light across my model. Position wise, I've got it about roughly around 45 degrees behind my model, and that's to give me a lovely rim lighting, but not too far behind because I want a little bit of wraparound light to get to my model in the front. Now to add to effect, I've rotated my strip box just a little bit, and you won't see this in this shot, but it will give me a lovely arc of light across the floor to add creativity to our shot, but you'll see that when the second light's turned on. Right, so now we've got that light in place, you can see that it's giving me a lovely rim light down the side of our model, and it's also giving us a lovely rim light on her hair as well, which is giving us a great reflection and contrast. But the model's position is important here because the way she's turned this way to our light, we're getting a lovely bit of wraparound light to the front, which is highlighting all this detail. If our model was facing square onto the camera, this wraparound light wouldn't be hitting any of this, so you wouldn't see any of this detail. So I've just put in the first of my rear key lights, and you can see that it's giving me a lovely rim lighting down the outside of the model's figure. Because it's a softbox, it's giving me a little bit of wraparound light, and because the model's facing that way, you can see that that light spills around the front just a little bit. So now we have our second light in place, and as I said earlier, this is a simple lighting setup, and again here we're using the same Bowens 500 Gemini R head, and again we're using the same Lumiere 40x100 strip box. In terms of lighting position, the lighting setup, they're symmetrical, so the height and distance and angle of this light is exactly the same as the first one. So now that our second light's in place, and as this is a symmetrical light setup, you can see that this light is also giving us the same rim light down this side of the model. The only difference being here, because our model's position is facing more towards the first light, that our wraparound light effect is going to be slightly different. The important thing with the leg here is that if it's too far around to the right hand side, the wraparound light from this light here will not fill in those shadowed areas. But if we bring this leg back towards camera a little bit, this wraparound light should just fill those shadow areas with a bit of detail, just the right amount. Now on top of that, now that this one's in place and turned on, you can see with the angle of these strip boxes, it's giving me that lovely arc of light across our background floor. So now that that's all in place, let's get a couple of shots going and see how it looks. So I've now got both of my key lights in place. And as they're symmetrical, you can see it's giving me rim lighting on both sides of my model, and it's really sculpting her form. As there's a little bit of wraparound light, I've still got a little bit of shadow area in the front, but not too much. And as you can see, the way I've got my lights placed is giving me that lovely arc of light across the floor to add a bit of drama to my shot. So I've now brought in the final element of this shot, and that's basically a simple white reflector. The purpose of this is to catch a little bit of this residual light from our flash and to bounce that light back into the front of our model where there is no light to lift those shadow areas. Now the important thing to remember here is how close or how far that reflector is to your model. The closer it is to your model, the more fill light it will give you, and the further away from your model, the more subtle that fill light will be. So now all our elements are in place. Let's get a couple of shots and see how that looks. So to complete our lighting setup, I've now put in our fill reflector, and that's placed just in front of the model to bounce some of that light from our key lights back into the front to lift some of those shadows. It's only a subtle change, but it's just enough to take out the darkness in those tones. Well, that's our sculpting lighting tutorial wrapped up. I hope you enjoyed watching and I hope you learned something. Try this at home in your own studios with this lighting setup. Change them around a little bit to see what effects you can get. I just want to say thanks for watching, and don't forget to check back for more inspirational Team Bowens lighting tutorials, and I'll see you next time.